Hello, EnteiTainment here. My name is Daniel, and welcome to my Meet the Draft for CSML Season 10. Of course, I am Daniel, or EnteiTainment, coach of the Syracuse Sylveons. I took a break from the CSL for a couple seasons, but I decided I would make my return for Season 10. So here we are once again, and I thought I would take the time to introduce you all to my lovely team of Pokemon. I'm always a little torn about how much to say in these videos because I know that a majority of my viewers are probably going to be people I am playing against in the CSL, and obviously I do not want to give too much away, but there's no harm in just introducing all of you guys so that you can just get to know each other. So I was actually had a bit of a plan going in, as is the case, but this time around it was different because I didn't actually specifically pick out the Pokemon that I wanted. In most cases, I just wanted to kind of wing it and not worried about getting sniped because I wasn't going to plan very hard for a particular Pokemon, but I was going to keep these three things in mind. First and foremost, I wanted the Pokemon I drafted to be unpredictable and versatile, whether that means they have a very diverse move pool, or they can be physical or especially offensive, or they can sometimes be bulky or just run random coverage moves or tech moves or whatever the case may be. I wanted to make sure that I was getting the most unpredictability out of my Pokemon as possible in all tiers. The second thing I wanted to focus on was having a resist for everything, and this has been sort of something I've been contemplating for a couple seasons, but I think one thing to really make sure of is that you have a resist for everything. I don't think it's necessarily that bad for a draft if you're weak if you're very weak to a particular typing. When you really start to have problems is when you don't have a lot of resists. So instead of trying to really focus on balancing my resists and my weaknesses, I try to put particular emphasis on just making sure I have a resist for everything. Hopefully 2 resists, even better 3 resists, but I wanted to make sure that I was covered across the board instead of getting too caught up in looking at weaknesses, because at the end of the day, if my draft is super weak to a certain typing, I just won't bring certain Pokemon against certain opponents, and it's not going to matter. But what will matter is if, for example, I don't have a dragon resist and they have a formidable dragon type, and I just won't be able to do anything about that. So that's sort of my philosophy on the whole weakness resist game plan. But finally, my third thing was just going for variable typing. I wanted to try to get at least one of everything. A pretty simple goal it may seem, but it's definitely hard to fill in the gaps at the end of the draft where you're dipping into E tier and you don't want to end up with some crummy Pokemon just so you can fulfill a typing that you don't have. But regardless, I was actually blessed with the first mega pick, first selection for my Mega, and I actually opted for the Mega Latios, which you know is a Dragon Psychic type, and definitely fit the roles I was looking for in terms of versatility and the ability to have a diverse moveset. It's definitely very unpredictable. It can be a booster, it can be a defogger, it can run physical or special coverage, it can do pretty much whatever the heck it wants, and I was definitely really excited to pick it up. There was no chance of me getting sniped in this spot because I was the first person to pick their Mega, so definitely an easy decision for me. But continuing down the line, we shall now look at my A tier picks, which were actually Infernape and Keldeo, a firefighting and water fighting type respectively. Definitely not super ideal to have two fighting types at the same speed tier, but I think more often than not, I will only be bringing one of these guys to my matchups, so I don't think it's going to matter too heavily, and it'll give me some nice versatility. Obviously, I stand by the fact that Infernape is an incredible Pokemon in this format. I have had him before, and I have no regrets picking him up again. I think I had the last pick in A1 and I managed to come away with Infernape, which makes me really, really happy. And then I got Keldeo as well. I think Keldeo is not as versatile as Infernape, but it's easy to sleep on a physical Keldeo set or some kind of bulky booster or something like that. That definitely has the opportunity to catch the opponent off guard. And the other thing is that each coach is allotted 3 Z-move Pokemon, and I went ahead and threw my Z crystals on Infernape and my boy Keldeo. 2 of the 3 are on my A tier picks. I have not been a huge user of Z moves in the past, so we'll see what this season brings and if I become more comfortable with Z crystals. But regardless, right on we shall go to B tier, wherein I picked up Scissor and Decidueye, a Bug Steel and Grass Ghost type. These two guys give me some obviously variable typing and some nice pivoting potential. I was really happy to get Scissor because, again, I think he is also very versatile. He's generally physically offensive. I think it would be hard to make especially offensive Scissor, but he can definitely be bulky or just be all out offensive, potentially banded or scarfed, or with Iron Plate, Bug Plate, Life Orb, Swords Dance. Definitely some different things. He also gets Defog, which is nice. So some nice variety. There's some nice variety that Scissor brings to the table, and I think a similar case can be made for Decidueye. Neither of these guys get particularly diverse move pools, and it's not to the same extent as like Latios, but I think they still both bring some versatility. I can definitely foresee some crazy stuff happening with Decidueye because I gave my 3rd Z Crystal to him, so we'll see what kind of shenanigans I can pull with that bad boy. But anyways, on to C tier. I was trying to come up with backgrounds that suited the Pokemon being featured, but I had absolutely no idea what could bring Gardevoir, Alola Muck, and Bronzong together, so I just went with the default Pokemon background. If you think you could have thought of a background that suited all 3 of these guys and brought them together, please let me know because I am dying to hear it. But anyways, obviously we got 2 Psychic types here, but also a Fairy and Steel type, and then Muckalola, the good old Poison Dark type. I wanted to get a Ghost Resist because now I have 3 Psychic types with Gardevoir, Bronzong, and Mega Latios from earlier, so I wanted to try to get a Ghost Resist, but also Muck can serve as a Pursuit Trapper, which is really cool, and gives me a Fairy Resist since I do have 2 high tier fighting types. I don't want fairies to be running rampant. And then of course, Bronzong provides the Fairy Resist. I'm getting ahead of myself, but Muck also has the potential to smack a Fairy type, even though he technically is not a resist. Fairy will be neutral to Muck due to his dark typing, or at least Muckalola, I should say. But regardless, definitely happy to see Muck. I don't think he is that variable. He does get some nice coverage. I think Bronzong can run a couple different sets depending on what you want. I do have a Stealth Rocker in him though, or potentially a Trick Room Setter, even a Calm Mind Sweeper, who knows. But it's some nice bulk that unfortunately does not get recovery, but with that being said, Gardevoir can serve as a Cleric, as a Wish Passer, or it can be offensive, Scarf, Specs, get some nice coverage, can get some status moves in there, so definitely still some pretty versatile Pokemon that will keep my opponent guessing, hopefully, at what I'm going to bring in our matchup. But anyways, we shall just keep the train chugging and go down to D tier, wherein I picked up Drampa and Excavalier, a normal dragon type, and another bug steel type to pair with Scissor, which might be a bit of a setback, but again, I was getting pretty weak to Ghost at this point, so I decided to draft a normal type that would obviously not take any damage from Ghost type attacks, and draft another potential Pursuit Trapper. I definitely don't think that Excavalier is that versatile, but I would say that Drampa more than makes up for it. It sort of has the, it almost has the Gen 1 syndrome, Drampa, even though it's obviously not a Gen 1 Pokemon. It has coverage like it is from Gen 1, so it's got all kinds of stuff, Energy Ball, Thunderbolt, Flamethrower. It's just one of those crazy normal types that seems to get everything. And it is also a Dragon type and has some pretty neat abilities in either Berserk or Sipper or even Cloud9, so I think those will bring some interesting sets, make some interesting sets available to me. But yeah, really happy to get both of these guys. Definitely stayed true to my plan so far down the line, and that brings us actually to the end of the line with my E tier picks, which were Golem and Rotom Frost. I will say Rotom Frost is the one Rotom who is not smiling. I looked at it, you can look at it if you want to, he's the one guy who is not happy. All the other ones, I guess Rotom Mo is kind of creepy looking, he's sort of baring his teeth. Alright, maybe you can make a case he's not happy, but Rotom Frost is the one Rotom who is just depressed. And I think I know why. I think Rotom Frost is definitely the, he drew the short end of the stick of all the Rotoms, but I'm still happy to have him. He is a pivoter. He does obviously get a nice powerful move in Blizzard, which is Stab. Not super accurate, and I will probably get pissed at Rotom Frost several times over the course of the season, but it is a risk I guess I'm willing to take. I still can run some pretty cool sets with Status or Pain Split or other strange things. And then Golem, I wasn't really sure what to pick and I was running out of time. I did want Rhyperior, but it got taken from me earlier, so I thought I would fulfill a relatively similar role in with Golem here. I think Rhyperior is definitely more diverse and the stronger of the two, which is why Rhyperior is in D tier and Golem is only in E, but nevertheless, he is a hazard setter, he is very bulky, and he gives me a ground type, which I did not have at this point in the draft. So I'm still happy to have him, and maybe I'll be able to pull off a weird set after all, even though I think his move pool is rather restricting. But regardless, we shall see how I did according to my 3-point plan, as they say. Let me get a sip of water real quick, I'm sorry. Alright, I'm dying. I apologize. But first, I did want to foremost draft some unpredictable Pokemon. I think the epitome of this can be summed up with Infernape, who can run pretty much anything. Maybe not a bulky set. Maybe you could say he could not run a bulky set, but he does get Will-O-Wisp, he does get Slack Off. So even then, who knows, maybe you'll see it. But yeah, definitely, if I were to pick the top 3 unpredictable Pokemon on my team, it would be Mega Latios, Infernape, and Drampa. I don't see how you can possibly plan for all of the sets they could bring, and I think it will definitely be something I can use to my advantage when team building down the line. So I would say overall, I definitely fulfilled my goal of trying to craft an unpredictable team that can run a wide variety of sets and will leave the opponent in a panic, hopefully. Next up is Resist Everything. So we have a little chart over here that shows my resistances. We can see the one that I guess stands out is Ghost, because I only have 2 Ghost resistances. Everything else is 3 or higher. So I do have Muck to hopefully handle Ghost types, And then of the typings where I only have 3 resistances, the ones I am more worried about are fighting and fairy, since I do have high tier fighting types that would definitely be threatened by fairy types. But for the fighting guys, I have Gardevoir, and for those annoying fairies, I do have Scissor. So I think a lot of pressure will be put on these 3 Pokemon on your screen now, but I think I can make it work. I don't know, fingers crossed. I do have Scissor and Excavalier as well for fairy types. So I guess we'll see how it goes. I'm not that worried about Ghost, even though it is my most vulnerable side. There's just not that many Ghost types running around, and I think I will be able to play around them with relative ease, but we'll see if I end up eating my words. But on to the third point, I did want to try to get every single typing expressed somewhere on my draft, and I was successful in all but one. I do not have a flying type on this team, which I hope will not be too big of a deal. I could foresee it maybe being an issue because I think that I don't know, I think flying is a really powerful offensive typing, and not having one might kind of suck. I won't be able to hit bulky grass types super well, or you don't see a lot of bulky bugs, so I guess I'm not too worried about that. But the main thing is there aren't many Pokemon generally that resist flying. Flying tends to be one of the typings that people leave out of their resistances. I would say Ghost and Flying are the two main typings that can kind of blow a hole through an entire draft, and we'll see. I'm definitely a little nervous, but we'll see how it goes, I guess. And in terms of my most common typings, my most common is Steel. It's actually tied with Psychic, but I put Steel on here because I am more worried about this one, since I do have 2 Steel bug types, and that is obviously not super ideal. I do also have 3 Psychic types with Mega Latios, Bronzong, and Gardevoir, but I think that's a little different because they actually form the coveted Dragon Fairy Steel Core, which I think is kind of interesting and not something I was planning for. So I decided to throw Steel types on here because I do have 3 of them, and we'll see if my opponents can capitalize that. I think if I had to pick a typing to have too much of, I would pick Steel, since it is a very durable typing overall and does not have too many holes in terms of weaknesses. So maybe Fire types will tear me a new one, but we shall see when game day comes. All of the other typings have 2 or less, except for Flying, of course, which unfortunately has 0. So yeah, that is the team as we see the squad fill in with the rest of them. Mega Latios, Infernape, Keldeo, Scissor, Decidueye, Gardevoir, Excavalier, Muck, Alola, Bronzong, Golem, and of course Rotom Frost, the little sad, lonely guy over there. But I am definitely happy with this draft. I think it provides a lot of potential and will challenge me throughout the season, which I am honestly excited about. I want to see how versatile and how unpredictable this draft can be, and I am hoping that I can use that to my advantage. If we look at it in a large scale, I think one of the setbacks will be the speed tier of this team. Overall, I actually have the lowest speed tier in the entire CSL. I think mainly because, it is mainly because I have Golem and Excavalier and Bronzong, honestly, and Alola Muck, who are incredibly slow. But on the other hand, I do also have Keldeo, Infernape, and Mega Latios, who all are very quick. So we'll see how it goes. I'm glad I got my faster threats out of the way with my A tier mons, because they are going to hit like a truck, and I don't think that the lower tier tanks will be able to handle that kind of pressure. But regardless, I'm going to end this video before I ramble on for too much longer. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you are as excited for this upcoming season as I am. This team has definitely got me pumped up. I'm really not upset with it in any way. Like I said, the speed might be a problem, maybe ghost types will be a problem, but I am excited to see what challenges this season will bring, and just looking forward to having fun with it and uploading the videos for you guys so we can go on this journey together. So, like I said, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and as always, have an excellent rest of your day. This has been Daniel, and EnteiTainment out.